Son of a bitch, I hate you, I don't like Asians. Why are you in this country? And then unprovoked, the suspect punches the victim in the face, breaking his glasses and causing an injury to his eye and face. It truly is a case of targeting the victim because in this case they're Asian American, and that could be any of us. If gone unaddressed, these crimes will continue to plague our community. And that's not the community I want to live in.
이 콘텐츠는 아시안 증오범죄 근절 프로그램의 일환으로 캘리포니아주에서 지원받아 제작되었습니다.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Cha. I'm a prosecutor with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. I've been a prosecutor for 27 years. During that time, I've handled and supervised the prosecution of a number of crimes involving Asian American victims, including domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse, and most recently, hate crimes. I'm here to present on disrupting the hate crimes targeting members of the Asian American community. So as a broad overview, hate crimes are unique in that they impact the community at large as well as individual victims and their families. They disrupt individual lives and at the same time can foster fear in the affected community and divisiveness in the greater community. They demean the victim's core identity and can be intended as a message to the impacted community that they are an other, devalued, and unwelcome. Hate crimes may also tend to normalize bigotry in the general community and embolden bigots to act out on their biases and hate. What are hate crimes? They are criminal acts committed in whole or in substantial part because of one or more of the following actual or perceived characteristics of the victim: disability, gender, nationality, race or ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or association with a person or group of persons with one or more of those actual or perceived characteristics. So what do we need to prove a hate crime? One, the commission of a criminal act. There are three categories of criminal acts typically charged as hate crimes: threats of violence, acts of violence, and property damage. In addition, we must prove what's called the bias motivation. The bias motivation, the required mental state, need not be the sole reason for the crime. When there's insufficient evidence, this is important to know, to prove that required mental state, criminal prosecution may still proceed by charging the underlying criminal acts which do not require the proof of that bias motivation. In other words, the underlying battery, a criminal threat, or vandalism. So what are hate incidents? It's important to distinguish hate crimes from hate incidents. A hate incident is a non-criminal expression of bigotry or bias. It's offensive, but lawful speech permitted under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. It often involves crude or offensive content and or conduct, but unless the words or conduct are prohibited by statute, they are protected freedom of speech. So let's look at some examples. Case example 1. In this instance, we have a 67-year-old Korean American male sitting at a bus stop in Koreatown. Male suspect approached him and stated, "Son of a bitch, I hate you, I don't like Asians." And then unprovoked, the suspect punches the victim in the face, breaking his glasses and causing an injury to his eye and face. Again, it's important to note that this attack, as with many hate crimes, was random and unprovoked. The result, a felony charge was filed by the district attorney's office. Case example 2. We have a Korean American female who's crossing the street with her child, her baby, in a stroller. The victim was accompanied by her friend, also Korean American. Without warning, the suspect, who's walking by, strikes the victim in the face, knocking her to the ground, and states, "Why are you in this country?" The victim suffered injuries to her face and her head. The victim and her friend promptly called the police and a hate crime report was taken. Now, unfortunately, this had a different outcome. Although hate crime charges would have been appropriate in this case, the victim moved homes, didn't respond to police and prosecution efforts to contact her. We also contacted her friend who refused to cooperate or assist. Accordingly, the necessary witnesses were unavailable. We did not have sufficient evidence without our witnesses, and the case could not be filed. So what happens after a report is made? There's a police investigation, typically that involves locating and interviewing witnesses, collecting evidence, and submitting the case to a prosecutor's office for filing review. The prosecutor's review. When we receive the case, we evaluate the facts and law to see if there's sufficient evidence, and if necessary, ask the detective for follow-up investigation. So what are potential outcomes? We can file criminal charges, either the hate crime or the underlying criminal charge. We can decline to file charges because there's insufficient evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. We here in the law enforcement community in Los Angeles believe that hate crimes against Asian Americans are highly underreported. What are some common barriers we hear from victims and our resources to address that? Language barriers and communication problems. It's important to note bilingual staff, both with LAPD, the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. We have telephonic interpreter services, and once the case is filed, we have court-certified interpreters available to translate. Immigration concerns. It's important to note that LAPD has a policy, and our office does not inquire about immigration status, and we do not forward that information to anybody. We treat that as confidential. Fear and distrust of the legal system. Well, hopefully, presentations like today can help to demystify the court process. It's scary, it's frightening to call the police and to show up to court. We have assigned victim advocates and witness coordinators that can assist in explaining the court process. They can accompany victims to court, and we have bilingual staff as well. Economics, loss of income while in court. Now, we have a formal victim assistance program. They're grant funded, and their website is there. They also have an app for convenience. But they can provide certain reimbursement for medical, dental expenses, counseling, as well as home security if the crime occurred in the home. And embarrassment or general reluctance. We find that some victims don't want to get involved. We have victim advocates who understand the cultural, religious, family issues, and we also sign these cases so that we can facilitate this process with the victims every step of the way. So I cannot overstate how important it is to report these crimes. And what are some reasons? Well, first of all, hate crimes, if they remain unreported, they can't be addressed. So reporting initiates the criminal investigation. This is the first step in the criminal justice process. Without a report, the case goes no further. Information provided to the police and contained in the report factors heavily in whether or not to prosecute. Police investigation deters further attacks on the impacted community and its members. Hate crime offenders are likely to continue if they are not held accountable, disrupting this cycle of hate. Reporting sets an example to other victims, encouraging them to report hate crimes. And shaming bigotry by reporting and initiating the police investigation of hate crimes may deter such conduct. As we've seen, hate crimes are unique in that very often the victim doesn't know the offender. And these incidents are not precipitated by some fight or argument. It truly is a case of targeting the victim because, in this case, they're Asian American. And that could be any of us. It could be you, me, your family, your parents that are in the wrong place at the wrong moment. As we saw in those two examples, the wrong place was just in the community, an individual sitting at the bus stop, a woman walking down the street with her child. If gone unaddressed, these crimes will continue to plague our community. And that's not the community I want to live in. And we should not and cannot stand for that. Thank you.
이 콘텐츠는 아시안 증오범죄 근절 프로그램의 일환으로 캘리포니아주에서 지원받아 제작되었습니다.